Hello, everybody. Thanks for watching The Sweat, your nightly dose of DFS and sports betting knowledge. The DraftKings duo on your screen, Adam Kaufman, Emerson Lotzia. Get to know us. It will not be a complete waste of time.
And I think it's adorable that he thinks we can promise that. But you know what? In our not-so-humble opinions, we've got a great show on tap. Some over-unders ahead, Game 2 between the Blazers and Warriors, plus a DK Sportsbook edition of Opening Face-Off with the Bruins and Hurricanes set to battle tonight. If the Bees win, back to the Stanley Cup Final.
Round 2 Showdown Picks for the PGA Championship as well, Mr. Kaufman. But let's get this party started with the Baseball Bros. DK Live's Greg Ehrenberg, Julian Edlow, and Mr. Mike Barner. It's MLB Price Check. That is where we will begin. Looking for the best value here among the following options. We got 4 pitchers in the 7K range: Marcus Stroman, Adam Wainwright, Michael Pineda, Eric Swanson, all within $600 of each other. Who floats your boat, Gregory?
Yeah, this is a pretty brutal slate for pitching. I'm going to go with Stroman. I'm kind of assuming everybody else is going to go with Stroman also because he kind of seems like the obvious pick just looking at the numbers. The White Sox offense has been better this year than they were last year, but it's still a pretty high strikeout offense, 5th highest K rate against right-handed pitching. And then also Stroman, much better this year than he was last year, 3.12 ERA. Like just comparing him to the other pitchers, I think he is the best matchup, and I think he's the better pitcher than the other guys.
Okay, Greg likes Stroman. Jules, who do you like?
Yeah, I can't really argue with Greg here. There's just so many bad choices, and Stroman is the best of the worst that's left over. He's had a few rough starts his last outings. He was decent in his last start, which was also against this White Sox team. But when you look back, he was entering the month of May with a 1.43 ERA. He had allowed no more than 3 runs in any of his starts this season, which he's done in all 3 starts in the month of May. But he scored 12 or more DK points in those first 6 starts of the season. 3 of them he had 25 plus. So I think he's just in the most solid spot, and you don't have to break the bank on him. So he's in the best spot out of these mid-level pitchers that none of which really pop off the page.
Michael, he's going to cost you $7,700. Is it a Stroman sweep?
It's a Stroman sweep. I think injuries really hampered him last year. His numbers were really abnormal for him. He's bounced back this year. He's got a career-high 10.4% swinging strike rate. The White Sox have only averaged 3.1 runs over their last 8 games. So they're not exactly hot right now. I'll also go with Stroman.
Interesting. Good stuff.
All right, so guys, 10 hitters over 5K on this slate. Rather than just name them all, I'll ask you, Jules, you can begin. Who's the top one on this slate?
Yeah, I'm going with Jorge Polanco here of the Twins at 5,000 flat, so you don't have to go up too much for him. Look, Eric Swanson, the pitcher he's going against, has been terrible this season, a 6.35 ERA. He's allowed 7 home runs in just 28 innings pitched. Seattle's given up 14 runs in 2 of the last 3 games that Swanson has started, so this guy's been involved in games that have gotten really out of hand in terms of stacking against him. And on the other side, Polanco's been so consistent. He's hitting .331 for average this season, 8 home runs, 19 RBI. He scored double-digit DK points in 3 straight, 6 of his last 9. And then just being a switch hitter always keeps him in a good matchup on whatever side of the plate he chooses. I just think he's the stud to pay up for on this slate.
Mike, what do you think? Who's the guy that stands out?
There's a lot of agreement here today. I'll also go with Jorge Polanco. Exactly what Julian said about Swanson giving up the home runs. Polanco's hitting .421 with 3 home runs and 3 doubles across his last 9 games. The best power season of his career, so I'll go with Polanco as well.
All right, that would leave one more.
Greg, is there any chance that you've ever hit that thing behind you, by the way?
Oh, all the time. I used to box back in the day. I could beat up everybody on this panel. That's actually the only reason I'm on. I fought my way onto the show. I'm going to go a little bit different from these guys. I'm going to go with Josh Bell at 5,600. I would go with his teammate Starling Marte. It's kind of an inside joke, but there's only like 6 people in the world that would understand that. Julian actually would be one of them. But Josh Bell, really favorable matchup against Eric Lauer. He's allowing a .354 WOBA to right-handed bats. Bell's a switch hitter, so he's going to have the platoon advantage even when the Padres go to the bullpen. And Bell's been playing really well lately, and he's kind of on track to be an all-star this year. The last 4 games averaging 22.75 DK points, 3 home runs in those 4 games, so I think he's in a really good spot.
Guys, catcher is typically a place where you might punt. However, you're going to find 4 of them north of $4,000 on this slate. Which one tickles your fancy, Michael?
I like Omar Narvaez. Pineda's been awful with his 1.45 whip. His fastball, average fastball velocity is down 2 miles per hour compared to his career mark. He missed last year after having Tommy John surgery, so either he's not the same pitcher anymore, or he's still trying to build up his arm strength. Narvaez is off to a good start this year, so I like him, his chances of keeping things going here.
Gregory, who is your man behind the dish, behind the plate, rather?
Yeah, so I mean, at the top, you said, do you want to pay for any of the expensive guys? And for me, it's just no. I like punting at catcher. I think this is another good slate to punt at catcher. Of the expensive guys, I don't think any of them really have reliable production. And if you look all the way down, we have Dylan Covey's the worst pitcher on the slate. Danny Jensen's starting at catcher for the Blue Jays. He's only 2,300. I think he has just as good of a chance to produce as any other catcher on the slate, and you have to pay almost nothing to get him.
Jules, bring us home.
Yeah, I agree with both of these guys, honestly. If I had to pay up for one, it would be $4,500 for Narvaez. He's been really good lately. He's averaging 14 DK points over his last 4 games. I think he's in the best matchup of the group, but I don't want to pay up, and that's because of Danny Jensen for just $2,300. It's such a good opportunity to just punt away at catcher, spend near the minimum. This is a really balanced slate, I think, where we don't have to spend up too much at pitcher. We just went over the top bats. I won't be paying for anyone more than $5,000. So I think we can just punt at catcher and then really balance the entire rest of our lineup out.
All right, well, you three hang tight. We're going to dive into some betting options on tonight's slate in just a little bit as well. But coming up here, we're going to do some NBA over-under. That's next.
Tyler Sullivan here with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. And while it won't be New York or LA, Zion Williamson will be in the NBA next season. Following New Orleans winning the NBA draft lottery and having the first crack at bringing aboard the generational Duke talent, there's been rumblings by talking heads that Williamson could elect to simply go back to the Blue Devils and forego the NBA to dodge the Pelicans. He was said to be rooting for a big market like the Knicks, but New Orleans ended up shocking the NBA and jolting to the top spot. Williamson can technically return to Duke thanks to him not hiring an agent or signing a shoe deal, but that doesn't appear likely. While recently appearing on a Baton Rouge area radio show, Williamson's stepfather noted that a return to Duke hasn't been considered, and Zion is excited about the prospects of getting down to New Orleans. On top of that, The Athletic reports that Williamson had a positive meeting with the Pelicans prior to the lottery and cited them as a targeted destination to start his career. So rest easy down there in the Big Easy. It seems like Zion is on the way.
Of the Western Conference Finals between Portland and Golden State tonight. We have got some over-unders to talk with these three guys about. Karin Phillips, senior columnist for the Shadow League, RotoWire's Alex Barutha, and Josh Engelman of Awesemo.com. I promise they're with us. You'll get to see them. Don't worry.
Karin, on the DK Sportsbook, you will find a number of player props. So starting with Steph Curry, a game-high 36 points at Game 1, over or under 31.5 this evening.
I'm going to go over for a couple of reasons, and the main reason is that Steph has been cooking lately. You know, when KD went down, we just expected the old Warriors to come back from a couple of years ago where Steph was the lead guy. But secondly, which may be just as important or more important, is like I've been scratching my head ever since Game 1, wondering what Terry Stotts is doing with this defensive scheme. I saw a stat that said like he's never beat Steve Kerr, maybe has one win against him in his career, and you could see that in Game 1 with the way they guarded the Golden State Warriors pick and roll. I'm really lost at what they've been doing and if they make some big adjustments tonight, because that was just like a walk in the park for the Warriors, especially for Curry. I'd really be interested to see if they go small, because that would be the best matchup for them. So unless Stotts does something that he usually doesn't do, but Steph's already cooking, so I think 31.5 would be easy for him to get tonight.
Is it an easy decision for you, Josh?
Yeah, it is. He's the best player on the floor. We just got done hearing that the defense was bad, and that's very true. Surprise, surprise. Going under on a Steph screen and dropping Canner to the free throw line doesn't work all that well. He's apparently a really good three-point shooter. Who would have known? I would take the over. I don't really think that Portland is set up to beat them. They don't have enough now. Great story. Not today.
All right, Alex, what are the chances you're going under here?
0% chance.
Good.
Going
Excellent. Excellent, Smithers.
Yeah, I mean, maybe even if Portland does switch up their defense, it's hard for me to imagine Steph Curry. Maybe he has a bad shooting night. It's always possible, and maybe it's a cherry pick stat, but in home playoff games this season, with KD and DeMarcus Cousins off the floor, Curry averages 1.5 points a minute. I mean, you talk about cooking, right? So if he plays at least 30 minutes, this should be an over for sure.
Well, let's look at that other side, guys. Try and find some optimism here for Portland. Enes Kanter, 16 rebounds in Game 1. It was nice to see him actually take a break from social media to play and contribute in this game. Over under 10.5 rebounds for Enes the Menace in Game 2, Josh.
So I would say under, because I think they're going to have to change something up, go to more Aminu, more Harkless, more Zach Collins, and less Kanter. He just can't be on the floor and expect to slow down the Warriors. Now, if that is not the direction they're going, he'll have no problem cresting 10.5 if he's still on the floor. I just think they need to bring him off the floor to have a chance to win in this series. So I have to take the under.
Speaking of changing things up, you couldn't have at least put yourself at Oracle on that green screen or something so we pretend you're at the arena?
You guys can. You guys can.
I love the green screen. Keep doing
Appreciate
you, man.
Appreciate it.
What do you think,
pressure
Card?
you.
See, I agree with Josh because I think the only way the Blazers do anything in this series to make it competitive is if they throw away their defensive game plan. Like I've come up with this lineup of, Dame, CJ, Seth Curry, Rodney Hood, and Zach Collins, and you just go super small and switch everything. And you just shoot threes and you just try to figure it out, and you let the little brother guard the big brother because he's been guarding him all his life. However, that does take Kanter off the floor. But then who rebounds? Because as I watched Game 1, Mo Harkless looked like he didn't deserve to be on that court. And then I looked at Aminu and I was like, he really doesn't deserve to be on that court. And so if you go super small, who rebounds? And it's Kanter. So somehow, even if you go small, you're going to have to play him every now and then to get some rebounds. And with the way that team shoots so many threes and jumpers, you're not going to make them all. So he might get 10.5 just off being out there and just being the biggest guy on the floor because we know Golden State is super small.
So, Barutha, can we call it a right place, right time over?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, even if Zach Collins does play more, I'm still expecting Kanter to play like 20 minutes. I mean, that would be my guess. And he's rebounded really well against Golden State this year. Anyway, we saw him grab 16 boards 2 days ago. And when he played for the Knicks, he averaged about 14 boards a game against the Golden State Warriors in only 22 minutes. So, I mean, as long as he plays, that amount, I feel like this is an over. And I assume he's still going to play 20 minutes, even if Zach Collins, maybe even starts.
Alex, follow me on this one. Total points,
Try and
rebounds.
keep up with him.
Okay, here we go. Total points, rebounds, and assists combined. Damian Lillard's line is set at 38.5. Okay, so over or under that?
I'm actually thinking under here. During the regular season, he averaged 37 combined points, assists, rebounds against the Warriors in 37 minutes, so about 1 per minute. But, I mean, I think Golden State, they've basically had Klay Thompson and Andre Iguodala guard Damian Lillard this series, putting size on him. They're going to make everybody else on the Blazers beat them except Damian Lillard. So, it's definitely possible he has a big game. He's Damian Lillard, obviously, but it doesn't feel right. I'm going to go with the under here.
Karin, his total points, rebounds, and assists combined was 29 in Game 1. The over-under tonight, 38.5. Where are you going?
I'm going under with this as well. I would like to see Dame be more of a facilitator tonight and see how that goes. Because like you said, like they've had Klay and they had Iggy, 2 long guys that can move their feet on Dame, and they were trying to run that pick and roll and get the switch to get Curry on Dame. And the whole Game 1, I was just like, why don't you just give the ball to CJ, the guy who saved you in Game 7 and the only reason you're still playing, and just let him go to work with Steph on him, because we all know that defense is not what Steph Curry does. So I'm going to go under and just feel pretty safe with that because I just don't trust Terry Stotts to switch this up tonight, but hopefully he will, so this thing could be kind of interesting.
Josh, 38.5 seems awfully high.
It does feel really high. I just can't get to it. I honestly think that's the only way that the Blazers win is if Dame is putting up a number that's significantly bigger than that 38.5. And, there are a small amount of people in the league that I'm comfortable saying can do that. Dame is one of them. He can go out and do his best Steph Curry impersonation, bomb from everywhere on the floor, and, drop 40, 45. And I think that keeps Portland in the game. I think the more likely scenario is that he just doesn't have the ability to get that done against Golden State's defense, even without Durant.
I like the way you really leaned into that last one, by the way. Strong. Klay Thompson hit 3 triples, guys, in Game 1. His over-under for Game 2, it's 3.5 because it's just so damn easy for him. So which side do you like here, Karin? Over or under?
I'm going over. Like, we saw Game 6 Klay show up in the Houston series, and I'm just waiting for him to have one of his in fuego games this series, and I feel like it's going to be tonight. So just hit 3 from Klay. Like, I think he'd get that maybe in the first half. That's too easy.
No-brainer, Josh?
Yeah, and it's more just that I don't want to cheer against Klay making threes. That seems like a really painful thing to do while watching a Warriors game, just hoping that one of the best shooters of all time is just missing. That seems like a really unfun way to watch the Warriors play. So I'm taking the over just because he's Klay Thompson.
That a sweep, Alex?
It's a sweep. I mean, the amount of scenarios in which Klay Thompson hits more than 3.5 3-pointers feels like so many, so much more than him going under. And he's going to take 20 shots tonight. So is Steph Curry. So, I mean, the chances he hits at least 3.5 threes just seems really hard to bet against.
All I heard was these guys just yelling, free money, free money, free money.
That's what it sounds like. Fantastic work, guys. Do not go far because we need you for Showdown Picks coming up.
All right. For now, though, preview of Saturday's
Coffield,
UFC Fight Night
8,200 minus
152.
120 favorite. Kevin Lee is 8,000 and plus 100. This is a welterweight fight. Kevin Lee moving up, which should help a lot of problems that we've seen with him in the past. It's like these 5-round fights, going the distance. The guy has a very solid game, but when he's not dominating, when he's not controlling from top, he seems to slow down, and we've seen that in a bunch of his fights before. Well, maybe if he doesn't shed an extra 15 pounds, he's always been a very, very massive 155er. He's one of the guys who's always asking for the 165-pound division to happen. Both of these guys at 165, that would probably be the perfect weight class for them. Javier Dos Anjos has been up here for a while. He's definitely gotten thicker. He's put on some muscle mass, everything like that. Question is, have we seen the best of Rafael Dos Anjos at this point?
Possible.
It's very, very possible. Obviously, went in against Usman. Usman's the champion now. Usman was able to hold him up against the cage, control him. We go back to when he fought against Khabib. 2011, 2012. It was on my birthday. That Orlando card, and Khabib absolutely, did what Khabib does. He just takes you down at will and kind of does his thing. I've seen people say, "Oh, Kevin Lee, he can just watch that Khabib fight from years ago and just emulate that. That's how you beat Javier Dos Anjos." And I maybe I'm a little bit too biased, but that's a really tall ask. Oh, just do what Khabib does. Yeah, the number one lightweight in the world that no one's even came close to. Easy. There's the template. Just follow that. It's just it's that one. That was a 3-round fight. 2, Javier Dos Anjos
has improved a lot.
And 3, Kevin Lee. I see people always compare Kevin Lee and Khabib together. I don't think his wrestling's anywhere near what Khabib is able to do. I don't think there's really anybody except for Gregor Gillespie at this weight class at 155 that has wrestling on that level.
Yeah, fair. See, I'm not talking to anybody that's really going in depth in the comparison to Khabib. What I'm hearing a lot of is his last 2 fights, the Kamaru Usman fight and the Colby Covington fight. Usman takes him down 12 times, and Colby Covington takes him down 7 times. And if you go way back to the Khabib fight where he's taken down, I believe, 6 times, that is the blueprint to beating him. If you want to defeat Rafael Dos Anjos, your best path to victory, unless you've got Eddie Alvarez, sweet little combination. The guy was butt naked on the bathroom floor struggling to make weight 24 hours earlier, and you catch him, you're probably going to have to take this guy down, smother him, grind him down, take his gas tank out of him, whatever you can do. But when you compare Kevin Lee to those other guys, Kevin Lee's 5'8", right? Kamaru Usman, 5'11", Colby Covington, 5'11".
Those guys are big 170s.
Those guys, in no world that exists, no parallel universe that exists, could either one of those guys make 155 pounds.
Be talking baseball. Second time tonight. Julian, Mike, and Greg will be talking baseball, but this time it's for Chaser Fades, something not even Julian can screw up.
Well, give him time. Cardinals in Atlanta, and one of the highest totals with an over-under of 9.5 runs. So Chaser Fade that this game is it's an easy under with Adam Wainwright and Julio Teheran, Greg.
Well, first, you guys think way too highly of Julian. Just wait until you see what he's going to be saying later.
I love him.
Yeah. For me, I think this is a fade. It's the line's about fair. Both pitchers of ERAs a little bit above 4. It's two average to slightly above average offenses. The Cardinals have actually been pretty good on offense this year. Kind of a neutral park. So to me, 9.5 makes sense. I'll say the final score is going to be 5 to 4.5.
Julian, would you like to redeem yourself?
I'll fade that the final score is going to be 5 to 4.5 because that's physically impossible. But I will slightly fade.
Statistically, maybe.
I will slightly fade
Oh,
the
yeah, that's
under
right.
here because if you read my sportsbook article today on the DK playbook,
Good plug.
one of my plays is actually over 9.5 in this game. I do think it's a good spot for runs. Wainwright and Teheran have not been, they've been below what their career averages have been this season. St. Louis is the 10th ranked offense at just over 5 runs per game. Atlanta ranks just average at 15th per game with 4.7 runs per game. So their averages do put us right around this number. Wainwright has been a lot better at home this season, but when he travels, he's got a 5.91 ERA on the road. Teheran's first 5 starts of the season actually wound up going over this 9.5 number. So, and these bullpens also, I think, are both, slightly below average. So this is a spot that I think 2 better offenses than pitching staffs, and I think we can get the over here.
Mike, anything you'd care to promote?
Always
I'll be
be
different. I'll chase it.
What do you got?
The Cardinals, while they overall have some good numbers, they've had some poor performances lately. They've scored 1 or no runs in 5 of their last 8 games. The Braves haven't been that great themselves. They're only averaging 3.2 runs in their last 10 games. While I'll agree that Wainwright and Teheran certainly aren't anything special, I'll take the under.
A parlay of the Reds' money line and the under versus the Cubs is at plus 235. Jules, you're a sucker for a good parlay. You admit that. So chase or fade. This will hit with Luis Castillo and his 1.76 ERA on the mound for the Reds. Go ahead, Jules.
I am a sucker, and parlays are for suckers, but I will not be taking this one tonight. I do like the Reds, actually, with Luis Castillo on the mound. I think they're around minus 140 to win this game. I would much rather just play that straight up than have to rely on the under as well. Although the Cubs bullpen has finally gotten it together, I just think this is a spot where I don't want to mix and match. I would rather pick one thing and focus on it. And if I do want to play the under, I just want to stick to focusing on starting pitching. So I think first 5 innings, we can get under 4.5 runs. I would rather play that and play the Reds' money line in this game than look to parlay the whole game together.
Mike, you on board with Jules here? Okay, that's a no. Greg, what about you? How do you feel about the
well,
parlay?
first, I also, just to promote, I'd like to say you could follow Julian on Twitter at Julian Edlow. That's
correct.
It's
that's
Julian's
good.
Twitter
It's important.
account. For this game, I'm going to chase it just because if we look at the situation where the Reds win this game, it's probably behind a really strong game from Luis Castillo. The Cubs have the better offense. Just where the Reds' chance to win, it's that Castillo, who tends to be a little bit of a high variance pitcher at times, really, really high ceiling. There are times where he looks like one of the 5 or so best pitchers in the league. His stuff is ridiculous. And if he comes out with his best stuff, nobody really could hit it. So I think that that's how the Reds win this game, is a really just dominant type game for Castillo where they win maybe like 3-1 or something like that.
Mike, let's try you again. Chase or fade this parlay, my friend.
I'll fade this. I like the under with Castillo and Jose Quintana starting the game, but I don't think the Reds will win. As good as Castillo's been, they're only 5-4 in his 9 starts. Meanwhile, the Cubs have won 5 of Quintana's last 6 starts and 7 of their last 10 games overall.
All right, guys, let's move on. Manny Machado has 5 of his 9 home runs this month. Only one of them, though, in the last 9 games. He's plus 450 to go deep against the Pirates, Mike. So chase or fade, Manny Machado picks up number 10 of the season tonight. What do you think?
This is a real easy fade for me. Trevor Williams is starting for the Pirates. He's allowed 0.8 home runs per 9 innings for his career. He might not be a big swing and miss guy, but he knows how to keep batters inside the ballpark.
How about you, Jules?
Yeah, easy fade for me as well. I need a much higher number on Manny Machado here than plus 450. As Mike just mentioned, this is a good righty on the mound in Trevor Williams. He's faced righties on 116 plate appearances this season, only allowing 2 home runs to righties. So 6 of Machado's 9 home runs have been against left-handed pitchers. Those 3 home runs that he has hit against righties have come in 144 plate appearances. So the odds of this happening are what, like 2-3%? I don't want to play that at plus 250 or 2 to 3% per at bat. I don't want to play that at plus 450 here.
Greg, you gonna join the club, make it unanimous?
No, I'll be a little contrarian here. So we look at Machado, just overall, he's homering once every about 22% of his games. So if we look at then the odds plus 450, that implies 18.2% chance of winning a home run. So if we just look at the total sample size of his games and the amount that he hits a home run, then I think that there's a little bit of value here. There is a righty-on-righty matchup. Williams has been somebody who's suppressed home runs at a decent rate this year. But overall, it's not like he's some great pitcher. He's kind of just middle-of-the-road, average-type guy. And Machado's still an elite hitter in the league. So I think there's a little bit of value to the number.
Hey, before y'all take off, give us your slate-approved DFS pick for tonight's slate. Don't forget, it locks at 6:40 Eastern time, which is 12 minutes from now.
It's coming up.
Greg?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Luis Castillo here. There's just not very many good pitching options, and he's by far the highest upside pitcher on the slate.
Ouch.
Wait, did you guys hit the wrong stamp there?
Yeah.
There you go, slate approved. They originally hit no one cares, but I care, Greg. Adam cares.
Well, it could be both. It could be both.
I mean, they could have thought it was a terrible take.
I know. I was like, wow.
Yeah, no one cares.
Harsh critics in the back.
Okay.
Jules,
Julian.
slate approved pick, Jules.
See if anyone cares about this one.
I certainly don't care about Greg's slate-approved pick, but my slate-approved pick will be Matt Carpenter for $4,000. I think he's in a really great spot. He's been heating up a little bit lately.
There we go.
Yeah.
Mike, bring us home.
Nail it.
I like Daniel Vogelbach at 4,800 against Pineda. He's cooled off a little bit after his hot start, but he's homered in back-to-back games. Pineda has allowed 10 home runs in 40 innings, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Vogelbach go deep again.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for your patience and sense of humor as well. You three, you're free to go. Reed and Jeff are here for a look at the PGA Championship in round one today. We're going to give you more of that right after this.
DraftKings Fantasy Black. New York Yankees, they're basically yelling tomorrow.
All right, let's get back to golf. DK Live's Reed Fowler, Jeff Ulrich, they are both here. It's good to see you guys. We're looking at second round showdown contest, not to, totally ignore the first round. We'll talk about that a little bit here, okay? Because Brooks Koepka is the leader after one round at 7 under. He has been terrific.
Course record.
For people, yeah, he's phenomenal. But for people thinking about some Friday golf action, Reed, there are 3 guys that are priced at least 10 grand. There's DJ, there's Brooks, there's Tiger. Koepka would pick himself because he's a big Koepka fan.
He really is.
Who do you like?
Oh, that's good. That's a good joke, Koff. Good start.
Thanks, buddy.
To the
Yeah,
segment.
we're off and running.
Yeah, like guy I like, right? I mean, obviously you can pick any 3 of those guys. Brooks obviously loves himself. All of us do love Brooks. DJ is a solid play, but give me Big Cat. Give me Tiger here. Look, he didn't start off well. He started off on the 10th today, and that's a tough starting first 2 holes, 10th and 11th. Some of the hardest holes on the course. Started with a double bogey, but was even for the rest of the round. Finished at +2. Where we saw Tiger fail today really is not where we see him usually fails on the putting surface. He was very bad putting, very bad around the greens, and great ball striking in terms of statistics. So when we get that putting stat that could go back to maybe around even in terms of where he could get plus minus, I think when you have him at that range, hopefully he gets a lower ownership, but it's the Big Cat. He's probably not, but give me Tiger.
Complimented right out of the chute from Reed. I wouldn't know where to go if I weren't going to go right to Jeff. Jeff, who do you like of these 3?
I mean, Brooks Koepka obviously off to the historic start, but I mean, he also gained over 3 strokes on the greens today, which is really, really rare. If he keeps doing that, this tournament's going to be over by, the end of Friday's round, but he's probably not going to. So I would lead towards Dustin Johnson, who actually had a pretty good day ball striking, and he lost strokes on the green. He's missed some short putts inside 10 feet. If he sinks those tomorrow, he's going to have a big round. He should be in chase mode. I'm not as bullish on Tiger at all. Tiger came out today, said he was a little bit sick on Wednesday. people forget he's still 43. I think the slow start's going to hamper him. So I'd go Dustin of these three tomorrow.
You get some new decor back there, Jeff?
I did. A new whiteboard just for you, Kaufman.
Thanks,
Don't
buddy.
worry, there'll be insults for you the next time you're here. So
I love your drawings.
Interesting.
Save for tomorrow. He's a sign guy now.
Yes, he is. He had one yesterday, but he wasn't being very nice to read.
No, I believe
his
that,
message
yeah.
on it. If you want to drop down a little, though, here, Jeffrey, there are 7 guys in the 9K range, led by Rory, John Rahm, Ricky Fowler are in there as well. So who's the best play from that group?
yeah, I mean, obviously Fleetwood got off to the nice start. I think Jason Day is kind of interesting too, but possibly putting together a low round here in the next couple of days. But I'm going to stick with a guy I picked pre-tournament. That's Ricky Fowler at 9,400. Got off to a good start. His putter was hot. He's a guy who can definitely maintain a hot putter for 4 rounds. And his ball striking wasn't terrible. He just needs to get a little bit more consistency off the tee. But I mean, a 1-under start isn't bad. Another player should be in chase mode tomorrow. I like the start for Ricky. It's solid. He's not going to be a ton of pressure. Obviously, he knows what he has to do. So he was my pick coming in, and nothing's really changed. I think at 9,400, you can just roster him again tomorrow, getting off to a good start, and makes for a good pick, solid pick in that range. He's probably my favorite. Like I said, Fleetwood and Day should be on your radar too, though.
All right, Reed, take it away.
So wait, Jeff picked all. There was like what, 5 or 6 of them in that range. He picked 3. Like that's a good. I like that hedge there.
I picked one person. I picked Ricky.
I think Ricky could do well, but all the other ones can do well as well. No,
dancing around.
Yeah, I like
have
that.
an opinion, Jeff.
I'm just really relieved that John Rahm's not hurt, guys.
No,
That's true. There was the
we'll
rumor.
admit it there. Let's wait to get to Rahm.
There was a rumor that he broke
Yeah.
both his legs today, but that was false.
Yeah, started right here in this room.
Okay, enough. I'm going with Rory at 9,700. Look, I like Ricky. I like those picks that Jeff was talking about. But there's going to be a trend here with all the questions that we're talking about, especially when you look at Thursday to Friday Showdown. Get the ball strikers where their putting stats just didn't really match up. Rory's still out there. He's got a couple holes left. 33rd or 35th in ball striking today and in the hundreds in putting. Like, this is tough, right? East Coast Poana is a very tough surface. These guys are essentially trying to putt to save their lives. Rory is one of those guys. And we always see this with Rory, that he comes out with a 76 or a 75 in these majors. And Jeff actually alluded to it earlier, that Rory, you want to get him on those birdie tracks. But he is one of the best in the world. He comes in #1 in all statistical categories. I like where his game's at right now. He just needs to put it in the fairway and make some putts. So give me Rory at 9,700.
Well,
Give me Rory for the missed cut tomorrow, Reed. Good.
Okay, let's hope not. He's on my
we'll
roster.
revisit that maybe in 24 hours. But looking back at today's opening round, is there someone, Reed, who had a great first 18 you believe is good value on tomorrow's slate?
Well, great. You know, this is a tough course, so you got to take that with a grain of salt. I'm looking at the guys who shot even par or better. Like Brooks is an outlier right at -7. Also, Danny Lee, I believe, at -6. Those two guys, take those guys out. Daniel Berger is someone that's intriguing. You usually don't see him pop on a lot of these leaderboards because he's been not playing that well unless it's the St. Jude Classic. But he's someone that, again, that ball striking was elite. He was top 10 in ball striking today, and just the putter wasn't there. He's at 6,700. So when you have it at even par, there's a lot of guys around here at even par that could, especially with tomorrow's conditions being a little bit windier, a little bit tougher, trying to make the cut. Give me Daniel Berger at that super value at 6,700.
Jeff, how about you? Is it Berger or is it somebody else?
I don't hate the Berger idea. I
Good, not
really
a
like
vegetarian.
Siwoo Kim. I liked him at the start of the week, and when he comes out hot like this, he generally is someone who's going to hit his irons well the entire week. He's at -3 right now. Obviously, the round's not done, but ball striking's there. He's really cheap, and I'd have no reason to think that he's just going to, someone who's just going to flutter off. I mean, it's a guy who's won one of the biggest events in the world already against probably a more elite field than even we're seeing this week. He's got 2 PGA wins, really talented young player. I think you're getting value. I think you just keep riding him because, like I said, the irons are there for him, and when he's hitting his irons well, he is really, really hard to stop.
Is that a dance read? What were you doing there?
Yeah, it was just the fluttering off. I just
Okay,
like the vocabulary from Ulrich today.
Interesting, guys.
He always shows up.
How about the other side here, Jeff? Someone who had a solid round 1, but you're feeling like fading tomorrow.
I had a solid round 1 and feel like I'm fading. I mean,
go ahead.
There's a long list of guys, to be honest, because
Really?
So, I mean, if I'm picking someone just off the top here,
That's what we'd like you to do, yeah.
yes, I know. Shut up, Colin.
I
I'm
can
gonna
take
go
this one,
list.
Ulrich,
I
if you
mean,
need some time to do
I
some
know
research.
people
You want us to
probably-
start with Reed?
But I wouldn't trust him for a value play tomorrow. He's just a player who's we've seen him the whole year. He pops up with one nice slow round, everyone gets excited, then he comes back with a 75. And this is a major championship course. If his driver gets a little bit off center, The putting just goes back because he actually putted pretty well today. So there's a very likelihood of regression. I would say stay away from Luke List as a value.
Okay, Reed, I see Siwoo Kim there, T3. Remember his plus 15,000 odds we discussed yesterday on the show?
Yeah, Siwoo Kim's all right. He's playing fine.
Okay.
He's a Jeff pick, so I don't want to boast him too much, but Siwoo's not bad. Aaron Wise. So I'm going to do both here. Aaron Wise, 3% owned, so it's not that scary, right? He's not in a ton of lineups. But he's someone that we usually see gain strokes, a ton of strokes off the tee and through ball striking. That's really his game. We've seen that so far. We see him on these longer courses. At Bridgestone, at Firestone, at the Barclays earlier. We see him do well at these long courses. And when you look at his game today, it was all putting. And we usually don't see that. So it's the reverse, right? He's at even par. He's saved a lot through his putting, and he's not gaining strokes through ball striking. That scares me. And this one's just for Kaufman. I do not like John Rahm coming into tomorrow. It's the same thing, right? And that's what scared me a little bit with Rahm today or before this tournament started, is that if he can't get those strokes gained through approach and through his driver, so through ball striking, and he has to rely on his putting, and if he has some of these wayward holes, which is what we've seen so far today, where he's just not getting his driver in the fairway, if he's not making those putts tomorrow, which you can easily miss the putts that you made today tomorrow, that scares me quite a bit. So John Rahm, who's 20+% owned in GPPs.
Twice speak ill of the man. Earlier today, we worried if he was going to walk again.
Two broken
Quickly
legs.
here, Reed, how about someone who was just kind of today, but you actually do like them to return to form tomorrow?
Yeah, he was more than mad. He was pretty bad today. It's Keith Mitchell. He shot +4 today. He's a guy that we already see as won, right, at the Honda Classic. Tough tournament. He beat Brooks. Obviously, he was up there at -7. Beat Ricky down the stretch down at PGA National. Guy gained strokes through ball striking. Again, I'm going to hammer that home and just couldn't make a putt. It could have been a lot worse. He had 5 bogeys and a double today, so it could have been a lot worse. He obviously salvaged it with making birdies. So Keith Mitchell.
Jeff, you think I can get my guy YE to show up tomorrow?
No, I don't think you should get YE anything.
So who's your guy?
Don't go there. I'm going to go with Sergio Garcia, kind of a similar story, +4 on the day. This guy's got to make a cut in a major again. I mean, I think he's missed like every cut since he won at Augusta, but he's playing well coming in. His putting is so bad. He was 145th in putting today. His ball striking is fine though. It's really not bad. I mean, I think he can turn things around tomorrow, hopefully. But I do like him for a bounce back, especially for like a 1-game fantasy slate like Showdown.
Last one, Jeff. Give us your slate approved lock for the second round at the PGA Championship.
Dustin Johnson, I think he's going to make a run. I think he's sick of Brooks taking all the
muscles,
the accolades every week at every major.
The
so
power, as you would say, behind you.
Yes, the power, the muscle.
He's got the power. It's like snap.
Go ahead, Mr. Fowler.
All right. Okay, so give me Keith Mitchell down there, really low at +4. I think he's going to make a run, but Big Cat, give me Tiger.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, guys. Well, thank you, fellas. Reed, you're done, so go back to making golf lineups. Jeff, you're going to hang and roll along with us. Hockey's coming up after some NFL rookie scouting talk with Adam Levitan and Matt Waldman on the DFS Edge podcast.
For those people that don't know, you mentioned a 1.5-year process. Tell the people how you got into this prospect evaluation and kind of what your process is.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I came about it in a really roundabout way because, I was a musician when I first started off in college, and then I ended up doing a little bit of journalism and a little bit of freelance writing while I was actually just in operations management in a call center. That kind of gig grew and grew and grew because I was on it kind of in the forefront of when call centers started to become a thing. Mm-hmm. And so I learned this process basically on how to evaluate performance for, frontline employees and how they worked. And a lot of it was based on manufacturing and different types of industries and applied to it. And it was a really good process. I had to get trained on it for a week, and we had to pay a good bit of money for me to go and do that. And as I was developing all these types of evaluation monitoring techniques and kind of implementing them, I realized as a football fan, I was a lifelong football fan and new fantasy player in the mid-90s, that maybe this is something that I could apply one day to scouting talent and learn about the game even more. And that's really what I did. So the process is everything's really well defined in writing that I look for. It's scored using these best practices. And it turned out that it helped me develop my understanding of the game to a degree that I have, not only, media and fantasy players who follow, get the RSP, but I have people in the league who get the RSP and people who email me and say, I'm at the combine representing X team. 2 scouts were talking about you and about this type of thing. And just wanted to thank you because you helped me get a job with this SEC team from watching your YouTube videos. So it's like, it's really come full circle in a really weird way. And, when I first started this, a lot of people, I started in this industry as a kind of a fantasy writer and people were like, what do you know? You know, so it's been a really exciting process and a fun journey. And I'm really grateful for it.
I'm curious, does it frustrate you at all when you really like a player, you followed him for a year and a half, as you said, and then he lands in some terrible spot? I don't know if you even care, but I don't know. I know a lot of people like Miles Boykin, right? And then he lands in Baltimore, which I think by most people's declarations would be a pretty rough landing spot. Do you get frustrated by that, or is that just you used to it by now?
I mean, I still get frustrated occasionally here and there with certain things, but I kind of expect it, especially with wide receivers, because there's so much variation in grading from team to team for the position. So you end up seeing situations where they fall or end up going somewhere. Like Stanley Morgan was a player that I really liked, the wide receiver out of Nebraska, and him winding up in Cincinnati is kind of a tough deal for him as an undrafted free agent. Or a guy like Emmanuel Butler or little Jordan Humphrey, who are 2 really good big slot players who are kind of under the radar. And I like the under the radar gems. And here they are on a team where the big slot player is Mike Thomas. So one of them's going to have to be able to play outside, and do either of them really have the speed to do it? So it's things like that can be a little frustrating, but it's you kind of get used to it as time goes on.
I thought Levitan's house was bad. You see all the boxes in Matt's room there?
Yeah,
Someone
Levitan's house was really
unpack
bad
some
the other
stuff.
night.
Goodness
Really
gracious.
bad. Anyway, we're back, if you couldn't tell.
Yeah,
Jeff Ulrich's still here, and DK Live editor Ben Zwyman has nothing better to do, so he has joined the program as well. And Ben, we're going to start NHL opening faceoff with you, since your hair looks the best out of all 4 of us on the DK Sportsbook.
He's at least got the,
Calm down over there, buddy.
he has at least had the most anyway.
You can find player props for who will score at least 1 point in 60 minutes here. Let's start with the top 2 centers in tonight's Boston-Carolina Game 4. Patrice Bergeron, Sebastian Aho, both minus 162 to record a point. Who's in the better spot?
Yeah, I'm going to go Aho here. I think there's more urgency for the Hurricanes, obviously, to get the win on the brink of elimination. Bergeron sort of hasn't been, he's got 2 points in 3 games. Aho's actually got a point in each of the losses. Really, the Hurricanes are going to go as Aho goes, so they really need to come out and set the tone. I think he's pretty much the majority of their offense. So yeah, I'm looking at Aho to get on the board, but honestly, both guys, again, you said they're the top 2 options. If both get a point, I wouldn't be surprised.
Jeff, you like Seabass? They're desperate. They need it. It's actually a must-win.
Yeah, I'll say it's a must-win. I mean, look, I'm not quite as confident in the Bruins as I was last game, but I was still picking them. And for that reason, I'm going to go with Bergeron. I see another defensive game. Scoring on Tuukka Rask is not an easy feat right now, and I'm just not sure why you want to go to the Carolina offense, especially with player props, because the likelihood of them scoring like multiple goals just seems like very dim right now. So I think Bergeron is the choice for me. I do think Boston's going to get it done tonight. I understand it's a must-win for Carolina, but I just think they're out of gas. They had a nice run, and I think Boston finishes the series today.
Jeff, you don't need to hesitate in piping up. I feel that Emerson here did discriminate unfairly at that against your soul patch. So if you want to defend yourself along the way, you're welcome to do that. But hey,
I'm used to it by now. It's been like 4 years of me having no hair and being on this program, so I'm used to the discrimination.
So yeah, he hates
this
his life.
Good point. Also, I think it's been longer than 4 years. Couple guys who have been getting under each other's skin, as we tend to do on this show throughout this series. Brad Marchand and Justin Williams. Marchand plus 190 to score a goal for the Bees, while the Canes captain, who can't keep his composure at all, is a plus 300. Now, this is not a Game 7, but again, it is a must-win for Carolina. It's an elimination game, and Williams is known as a big game player. We've seen it so many times in Game 7s. So which guy's the better option here, Jeff?
I mean, I picked Bergeron, so I pretty much have to pick Marchand for this one. I know you're getting better odds with Williams, and I think a lot of people might just lean towards him for that reason, but if you like Bergeron, I mean, Marchand's probably going to get scorers, right? So, I mean, they just play together all the time. Like I said, the Bruins have the best power play in the playoffs thus far. it just seems like a no-brainer here because it just feels like all the momentum's with Boston. They have the better goalie. If you're looking at score props, I know the odds aren't as good on the Boston guys, but I would still much rather have Marchand on my list than Justin Williams tonight.
Well, my showdown lineup hopes you're right. What do you think, Benji?
Yeah, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go with Williams here. I like the odds you're getting plus 300 there. I think, again, this could be the game where the Hurricanes break through. Rask's been really good, but we saw in that first period in Game 3, Carolina came out firing. If they get a couple past Rask, the floodgates could have opened. I think we could see that sort of scenario come up tonight. But yeah, Williams is a big game player. He's going to have to get Carolina on the board and if they want to extend the series. So I like those odds a bit. Brad Marchand's did most of his damage in the first round. He really hasn't been too good against the Blue Jackets in the second round and in this series so far, other than that game-winning goal in Game 3. So yeah, I'm looking at Williams tonight.
Only two options for point producers on the blue line. Boston's Torrey Krug, Carolina's Dougie Hamilton. Krug's minus 125 to register a point this evening. Hamilton plus 140. Who's more likely, Zweiman?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Krug, he's gone scoreless in half of the Bruins' playoff games so far. That's 8 out of 16. So to get odds like that, I'm not really crazy about it. Obviously, if the Bruins can get some power plays and get something going on the power play, Krug has a pretty good chance to put up a point. But I'm going to lean Hamilton here with those odds on the plus side. I went with him in Game 3, didn't really pull through. But again, the urgency level is very high for Carolina if they want to extend their season. So yeah, if they're going to want to do that, then I think Hamilton has to get involved, and I'll take those odds.
Where are you leaning, Joffrey?
I mean, I think people know where I'm leaning right now. And we didn't script this either. I mean, Ben's on the Hurricanes. He's going down with the ship. I respect that, but I think it's the wrong side. It's Torrey Krug. I mean, the Hurricanes have one of the worst penalty kills in the playoffs thus far, too. I already mentioned the Bruins' power play is the best thus far. So Torrey Krug is basically on the ice for the entire man advantage for the Bruins. I think if you're going to go with a defenseman, you just go with him. He hasn't been great or anything, but you only need a point. And a minus 125, I don't hate the odds. Although if I was just going with 1 point producer, I'd probably eat the juice and go up to Bergeron because I feel like he's a safer bet. But definitely Krug from these two for me.
All right, guys, let's get some slate-approved picks here. Ben, let's go to you and inevitably one from the Hurricanes.
No, actually, I'm going on the other side. But a former Devil, Mojo, Marcus Johansson, he's at 5,800 in Showdown. He's been playing well on that third line with Charlie Coyle. So, yeah, I like him if you're looking to save a little bit of salary.
Jeff, you want to throw a wrench in the script here?
No, same idea, though, as Ben. I'm going on that third line I'm just going to go with Charlie Coyle. I mean, he's been really good. He's playing solid minutes, even getting a little bit of second-line power play time, 6,500. You know, Krejci's all the way up to 10,000. I liked him, but now that the price is up, I think going down to Coyle makes a lot more sense just for the price.
I just think it's adorable that Ben here thinks that Carolina has any interest in getting on that plane and going back to Boston and extending this series.
Nope.
Done. They've quit.
I've been trying to convince him of this.
My
like the last
eyes
two
are
shows.
rolling into the back of my head right now. Or before, but yeah.
All right, Jeff, you're done for real this time. Ben, you can get out of here too. We're going to look at tonight's NBA Showdown. That is next.
Tyler Sullivan here with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. The NBA Draft Lottery is barely in the rearview mirror, but we're already seeing the top of June's draft take shape. Of course, Zion Williamson is viewed as the consensus #1 overall pick to the New Orleans Pelicans, but now the #2 selection all but seems locked up. According to ESPN, the Memphis Grizzlies are making it known that they will be picking Murray State guard Ja Morant. Morant is viewed as the best point guard prospect in this draft after averaging 24.5 points, 10 assists, and just under 6 rebounds last season. With him set to be heading to Memphis, that now opens the door for the Grizzlies to seriously consider trading veteran guard Mike Conley. He still has 2 years remaining on his contract, but is viewed as a rather easy trade asset as he is still at the top of his game. Not only does this pending addition of Morant usher in a potential Connolly deal, but it also paves the way for the New York Knicks to draft Duke's RJ Barrett, who would be reportedly ecstatic to play at Madison Square Garden.
Last segment of the show, which depending on how you look at it, could be a good or a bad thing here, but we are here.
How do you feel about it?
I am not happy that it's over. I love
I'd like to keep going. This is good.
All right, so we have Karin Phillips, senior columnist for the Shadow League, RotoWire's Alex Bruth, Josh Engelman from Awesemo.com. It's good to see you guys again. Blazers Warriors game 2 tonight. No Kevin Durant for the Dubs. Reportedly, no time soon either. Maybe 3 to 6 weeks until he's back is one of the reports I saw out there.
Yikes. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. Not good for Golden State, obviously. Didn't seem to really matter in Game 1. KD's absence didn't make a big difference. Probably won't tonight either. But we got a showdown contest to talk about at DK, and it's a captain showdown. So that captain, if you don't know how this works, gets 1.5 times 1.5 times points for any production at 1.5 times the salary. So who's your captain, Karin?
Wardell Stephen Curry II. For the simple fact that
Very formal.
Who else is going to do it since KD is out 3 to 6 weeks possibly? Just put Steph in that position and go to bed, and then you'll wake up a happy person.
Josh, I can't help but notice a wardrobe change.
Yeah, I felt like it would be a little bit more on brand to put.
Oh, now there are 2 Joshes. Oh, we've got 2 of them on the screen now.
I got one up here. I got the shirt on. I do have some Portland gear hiding off to the side just in case I need to change my stance completely.
Okay, yeah, we'll save it for maybe your Slater Proof pick or Golden
That'll
State
work. I don't think we need any live
after dark.
wardrobe changes.
Yeah, let's keep it G-rated.
Either way, the answer is Steph Curry. It's really hard. It's really hard to go a different direction for me today. I just don't think that these teams are on the same level. And when the Warriors blow out the Blazers, I think it's on the back of Steph Curry. So he's the guy that I have more often than anybody else at captain today.
Alex, is there another option for old Capitan?
Steph Curry's the big time option. If you want to go a different way, I would consider Draymond Green. Steph Curry has a pretty inflated price. So on the chance he has a slightly off game, that's going to hurt you at captain. So I think going Draymond Green, opens up the rest of your lineup, gives you a higher floor that way. So that's the only other option that I'm considering.
Alex, which player makes the most sense to pair with your captain?
Well, if it's Draymond, I think Clay. In game 1, Clay took 9 shots off of Draymond Green passes. He went 2 of 6 from 2 and 0 of 3 from 3. I doubt that happens again. So if you really think Draymond's going to have a big night, I think it makes sense to pair it with Clay because he passes to him a lot. Obviously, he passes to Steph too, but you're assuming Steph has a bad night if you're playing Draymond at captain. So I would say Clay if you're running Draymond at captain.
Josh, who are you going to be partnering up there with Curry?
Yeah, I want to make sure that I have at least one of Lillard or McCollum, and I don't really mind which one I'm taking, but I want to make sure that I have one of those 2 guys coming back on the opposite side with Curry on the off chance that this game stays close. I can't imagine a scenario where it's not because of one of those guys.
All right, Karin, who you got?
I'm going with CJ, just for the simple fact I want somebody on the side as well. And since Steph is guarding CJ, why not just have both of those guys since neither one of them really plays defense that much? CJ does a little bit more than Steph. But give me all the points and just let me have that duo together.
Guys, do you see any good value in this game? We're talking a lot about the big stars, obviously, but you also have, Livingston and Iguodala, Lesser Curry. What do you think here, Alex?
Yeah, Iguodala is a solid choice for the Warriors, but I think, we talked a lot earlier in the segment about, Portland potentially going small. And so I think that's where a lot of the value lies. You can get Seth Curry at 2,600. You can get Zach Collins at 5,000. I wish that price was a little bit lower, but you're never going to get someone cheap who has upside for threes and blocks. So I think those are the 2 main points of value for me if we're to assume that Portland switches up their game plan.
How about you, Josh? Anyone stand out to you on the bottom end of that rung?
It's honestly really scary to be picking the bottom of the barrel from the Blazers and the Warriors from a value perspective. But if you think that the Blazers can stay in this series, I think that it's going to happen by them getting smaller. So, maybe they can resurrect Al-Farouq Aminu from wherever he's been dead this playoffs. He's just been not good. He's 4,400. I think that's viable if you think that the Blazers can hang in here.
Well, Karin, if you want to get nutty, you can go with Looney.
No, I'm staying away from that. And just like everyone else, how we all keep saying that they got to go small. But I'm going with Seth and Zach Collins just for the emotional reasons. Zach Collins has kind of been like their little fire starter all playoffs. Like every series, it seemed like he's getting into it with someone, and he's kind of like their emotional leader off the bench. And if Portland's going to do anything, they need a spark plug. And so I'm looking at him to kind of get them rolling. And then also like Seth Curry. I just felt like once we got this matchup, there was going to be a moment where like Seth Curry just caught fire and everyone was like, oh yeah, like the younger Curry is really good at shooting the basketball as well. And I feel like it has to be in Oakland instead of in Portland because that's just too easy. Like I just want to see him go off in front of his family and his brother in Oakland. And it has to be tonight because if it's not tonight, then they're probably not coming back to Oakland.
Josh, we sipping on a nice Cab Sauv tonight?
Yeah, it's something like that. I don't know. It's whatever my wife bought.
Good man. Good man. That's the same in my house.
Very quickly before we let you guys go here, just thoughts on the impact of not having Durant here. If he's out this entire series on potentially through, how severe is this, Karn, for Golden State?
Oh, if KD's done, then the Warriors have done. And this is some news that I've been waiting to see what was going to happen either way since we saw him pull up with that calf, ACL, whatever it may be, when he took the jumper over Iman Shumpert. Because for the last year, I've been writing pieces saying that how this Golden State dynasty has been built off them always beating teams who always have one injured guy, and it's always been convenient for them. And that's not taking anything away from how great this run has been for Golden State. But for them, possibly this coming to an end from two huge injuries with Boogie and KD, it'd just be really interesting because if he doesn't come back, it's a wrap.
Josh, 20 seconds. They done if they don't get Durant?
They're not done, but it gets really scary because it's not the Cleveland Cavaliers on the other end if they make the finals. It's a Milwaukee Bucks team and Giannis-led team that is absolutely terrifying on both sides of the ball. It's a real series if Kevin Durant doesn't come back.
Alex, real quick, ditto?
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, assuming they get to the finals, they're going to, like Josh said, match up with Toronto or Milwaukee, and Toronto or Milwaukee would have the best player in that series then. And, it could go 6-7 games. But, if Durant's out, I might pick, whoever comes out of the Eastern Conference to win the finals.
Well, how do you get a finals on the level? Just knock out a superstar for Golden State. Should be fun.
Indeed. Thanks, guys. Thanks to all you at home for watching and putting up with us. Want to do it again tomorrow?
Yeah, 6 o'clock Eastern. Join us here. Bye-bye.